Thank you very much. This is the Tony Mazzocchi Award for Lifetime Achievement, and it's being given to the United Steelworkers Health, Safety, and Environment Department. As many of you know, a number of unions and the labor movement have had to contract their and squeeze their services, including health and safety services, to its membership, as unions have been hammered by the job losses and loss of membership. But that's not been true with the steelworkers. The Steelworkers Safety and Health Department has been expanding their efforts and their leadership to advance worker safety and health, not just for their own members, but for the entire trade union movement and indeed all workers across the country. And they're using that leadership in a number of innovative and aggressive ways to make workplaces safer in this workplace. They have expanded their education and training programs to provide some of the best safety and health training that's offered to workers in this country. As many of you in workplaces have faced employer programs that blame workers for their injuries and try to intimidate and discourage workers from reporting their injuries and address workplace safety and health hazards, there is no union in this country that has done a better job of leading the fight to confront these bullshit programs that will drive us and discourage us from reporting injuries and making our workplaces safer. And they continue to pull the entire labor movement with it to fight these programs until we see a day when none of these programs are in place in U.S. workplaces. A unique and critically important emergency response team that addresses situations where their members are killed in workplace injuries, to address the needs of the families and friends that are left from the workers who have been killed, to help with the co-workers and deal with the loss, and to address the safety and health hazards that were resulting in that death. They have been leaders in linking the trade union movement and the safety and health movement with the environmental movement as key initiators of the Blue-Green Alliance. They are always there when there's a critical health and safety standard that OSHA is promulgating and proposing, by coming to Washington and testifying, and not only testifying, but bringing their members to those hearings to let the members speak to OSHA about why we need important safety and health regulations to protect workers. Now, if you've had the opportunity to work or meet with the folks in the Steelworkers Health, Safety, and Environment Department, you'll know that you're working with some of the best safety and health people in the country. But I think more importantly, you are working with and know some of the finest trade unionists that the labor movement in this country has to offer. So with that, I'd like to bring up all of the staff from the Steelworkers Health, Safety, and Environment Department up here to receive the Tony Mazzocchi Lifetime Achievement Award.
Well, first, thank you very much for this. We are very honored and we are very humbled to be on the same program with the other awardees who've done such magnificent work. At the same time, I have to confess that I and some of my colleagues are a little ambivalent about this. Not because there aren't great people in this department. There are wonderful people in this department, and I think my only skill as a department head is to pick good people and get out of their way. People like, let me go through some of these folks. Steve Salmon. Steve came out of the rubber industry, got fired by his company, I don't know how many times, Steve, always got his job back, and then the last time they fired him, we let that stick, And the next day, he was he was an Iowa OSHA inspector. It was really fun calling the director of safety for Bridgestone Firestone and informing him of that fact. And Steve now works, of course, in the health safety environment. Kim Nybarger, who came out of the oil industry, went through one of the most horrific accidents in the history of the industry at his refinery in Anacortes, became a health and safety activist. We recognized shortly after the merger with Pace Kim's talent and brought him to Pittsburgh as one of our staff. Mike Gill, also out of Pace, he worked for the Pace grant staff. We, by the way, renamed that program the Tony Mazzocchi Center, much more appropriate name. Recognized Mike's capacity. He now directs the Tony Mazzocchi Center. His assistant director, John Scardella. John came from upstate New York, did extraordinary work there. We brought him to Pittsburgh. Anna Fenley. Anna is our newest member. She was an intern for the union, came from a public health background, and we recognized her talent, and she is now working with the Safety and Health Department in Pittsburgh. Now, in some cases we've been lucky, because I didn't actually choose all these people. A couple I didn't choose. Jim Frederick. Jim came to us with the merger with the rubber workers. We kind of had to take him. But Jim is the indispensable person in the department. He has done extraordinary work. Jim is trained as an industrial hygienist. But the way Jim sees his work, and the way I'd like to think I see my work, is we are union activists who happen to be industrial hygienists. We're not industrial hygienists who happen to work for a union. Finally, Nancy Lesson. I'm actually not sure how we got Nancy. I think she wandered in off the street. But all the stuff that Bill said about our fight against behavioral safety and our fight against programs that deny workers the right to report accidents, Nancy leads that fight, not only for us but for the whole labor movement. And she's here. Deronda, stand up. You ought to be up here. Come on. Come on, Deronda. I heard Bill talk about the ERT program, Emergency Response Program. Part of that program works with victims and their families of terrible industrial accidents. We dispatch Deronda or her colleague Al McDougall or somebody else from the ERT program. And it's the hardest work in the union there is, because they go into these situations where people have lost a loved one, and they work with that family. They try to make sure that family gets all the help and all the things they need. Help them with legal issues, help them with all kinds of things, and it's awful work, and it's important work, and Deronda does it superbly. And this is just part of us. There are actually, if you add up folks from the department proper, from the Tony Mazzocchi Center, and from the ERT program, there are actually 27 of us. So on behalf of all of us, thank you for this. But like I said, we're a little ambivalent about it, because we're just doing our jobs. We're just doing our jobs. And we could not do our jobs were it not for the leadership of the union. Our very first president, Phil Murray, in 1942, insisted that the union constitution include a clause requiring local unions to set up safety and health committees. It's not optional in Steelworkers. In 1948, we were lobbying President Truman 6 days after his election for action around air pollution. I.W. Abel, who was the third president of the union, never could pronounce the word epidemiology. He always called it epidermiology. It's actually quite funny when you think about it. But he hired the first epidemiologist in the trade union movement. a distinguished professor of epidemiology, J. William Lloyd, to help us fight through the coke oven and the lead and the beryllium standards and many other things. George Becker, union president, was actually in the safety and health department for a while, but before that he serviced a bunch of lead plants, and there's no person in the labor movement more responsible for the lead standard than George Becker. George also brought his experience, even before the lead standard, to the hearings that established the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Lynn Williams led wildcat strikes in Canada over conditions in the uranium mines. Our current president, Leo Gerard, understands safety and health and environment absolutely as part of his union's soul, from starting out as a worker in the dust and the smoke and the sulfur in the copper refinery, nickel refinery in Sudbury, Ontario, and in the mines there. So we've had extraordinary leadership, and they're really the ones who make it possible for us to do the work. But there is an even more important group, and let me ask all the people who work in local unions, work on the shop floor, any kind of shop floor, union members from your locals, not just steelworkers, but everybody, stand up. These are the folks who take the risks. These are the folks who struggle every day in their workplaces for safety, for better safety and health. They're the ones who confront the company head on. Our only job is to serve them. They are the real heroes. So it's on their behalf and on behalf of the whole union, and on behalf of the whole union movement, that as union staff, we will accept this award. Thank you.